gospel, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. As Catholics, we have heard that probably hundreds of times. And sometimes it's very helpful to have practical examples of what that means, lived out. My grandmother, Josephine, grew up in Niles, Ohio, a tough town. She grew up in poverty. She raised her 6 children with all the struggles of raising a family. What made it especially difficult was that the husband she loved more than anyone walked away from the faith. For 35 years, she watched him skip Mass, drinking whiskey on Sundays, playing cards and gambling. And it hurt her so much. But she was resolved to love God with all her heart, all her soul, and with all her mind. She faithfully took her 6 children to Mass every Sunday, every solemnity. She gathered her 6 children around the bed at night, and they faithfully prayed the rosary. Statistics say that about 6% of parents pray the rosary weekly with their children. About 15% pray the rosary once a month with their children. Josephine realized that is not enough. Every day, every week, she showed by her example to her children to love God above all. One of her children, of course, is my mother. And my mother married a good man, my dad. My dad was, like many of us, hardworking. And to sacrifice for us 5 children, he was on the road 4 days a week. So she raised 5 of us by herself. It was tough. She saw 4 of us, 4 out of 5, walk away from the faith. The man speaking to you right now walked away from the Catholic Church. For 7 years, I was away. How that hurt my mother. But like her mother, she was determined to love God with all her heart, with all her soul, and with all her mind. She got to see with her own eyes my dad come into full communion with the Catholic Church. She saw my dad so transformed that he spent his retirement running a Eucharistic adoration program. He was so on fire with his faith, 3 times a year he formed Catholic conferences where over 200 Catholics from Mercer County, Pennsylvania, would come in and hear nationally known speakers. My dad would go to daily Mass every day. And you know what he said? The same thing as my grandfather. If it wasn't for my mother loving God with all her heart, soul, mind, and strength, he said, where would I be? My grandfather, who I told you about, who was gambling and drinking his whiskey and playing cards all Sunday. You know what happened to him? At the end of his life, as he contracted cancer, he said, I want to go to confession. For 40 minutes, he says, on an August afternoon, 40 minutes in the confessional, he poured out over 35 years of sin. He says from the top of his head to his feet, he was dripping with sweat. He knew he fell short in loving God with all his heart, mind, soul, and strength. But he told us grandchildren, with such joy on his face, the faithfulness of your grandmother gave me the pearl of great price, the Catholic faith. You see, your faithfulness today is literally impacting generations. Never forget this. Your faithfulness can change literally generations to come. I am astounded every time I say Mass that I am a Catholic. I know what it's like to walk away from the faith. I'm even more amazed that the bishop laid his hands on me and I am ordained a priest forever. And I can tell you with certainty, with absolute truth, if my grandmother was not loving God with all her heart, soul, mind, and strength, if my mother was not following the same, where would I be? A great question for you today is, who has been a pillar of faith in your life that has given you this pearl of great price? Who is that? And are you excited? Are you determined to love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength? I admire Pope John Paul II. He talked about a very little-known Monsignor, Monsignor Adamski. I went to seminary with Peter Adamski. He sat right next to me in seminary to my left. And John Paul II was so impressed by this Monsignor's prayer life, how he treated people, how he would be so welcoming to make meals and dinners for him. It planted a seed that I could be like Monsignor Adamski. You see, the faith is contagious. We are hardwired for God. St. Augustine said, "You have made us for yourself, O God, and our hearts are restless until they rest in you." People are made for God. We are made for truth. We are made for beauty. We are made for goodness. And every single day, when you practice your faith, when you live your faith, and when you love your faith, you're not only changing the paradise within, you are changing future generations. Look into the eyes of Jesus at this Mass. Look at him inviting you to intimacy. The word intimacy, into me see. The God of the universe wants a personal relationship with each and every one of us. Again, Augustine says, God loves each one of us as if there are only one of us. And each one of us can be that Josephine, that Rosalie, that Monsignor Adamski, because it's so exciting, because your faithfulness and my faithfulness can literally raise up the next pope or the next priest or the next president. What we have is so exciting in our faith, and we want to love it, we want to live it, and we want to share it